Everybody. This is Linda Binns, and I'm back for another inspiring conversation. I've really been enjoying these. I'm learning so much, not only about the people I talk to, but I'm just learning so much about what they do and how the different ways people help other people. And I'm really excited today to welcome Jan Jeremias. I'm really looking forward to learning more about what she does, because she not only helps people, but she helps animals as well, help them be healthier and happier in a very natural way. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about that. So Jan, welcome, and thank you for being here with me today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Linda. It's a pleasure.
Now, you do a number of things, so I'll let you introduce that and explain what it is that you do.
So I started out in the health industry, basically, working in clinical research, and it was always very challenging and very exciting. Worked in women's health for a number of years in some sort of scientific realm. Was really rewarding in some ways. Never had much contact with people, but knew that I was doing something for the greater good of people, of women. And along the way, I became interested in, I want to say, in integrative or more holistic modalities, natural modalities. And I was brought to that by my pets. So early on in that sort of wellness path of being in the more natural realm, of being empowered to be able to help something, I was brought to that whole kind of aspect of my life through my animals. And so I've spent much of my sort of path toward wellness and helping people with wellness, with helping their pets with wellness. That's really where I focus. But I always like to say that every pet has a person. And we are so interconnected with our pets. I'm a firm believer that we are given the pets we need at the moment, and their personalities for one reason or another. It's always happened to me with the animals that I've had. And also that they're very connected with us, is that they're very attuned to the way we feel and what's going on in our lives. And so really, I've always felt like if you heal one, you heal both, but those interconnections are just very profound and very dynamic.
That's so true. And it's interesting that your pets brought you to this health journey, because my dog was the one who years ago started me on this path of learning about energy and natural remedies and things like that. So it's interesting how they lead us, isn't it?
Oh, so much so. And the gift of working with animals is the same gift of children. I mean, it's that, as we age, and especially being a human being, we, for good or bad, are very cognitively aware. We have processes in our brain that sort of decide what's good and what's bad, and we learn a lot. But sometimes those kind of, I want to say, almost prevent us from seeing things that might help, because we don't have a reason why they work, and we don't scientifically understand them, even though they've been used for thousands and thousands of years. And animals don't have that ability. So they just, you do Reiki on them and they just feel better, and they don't ask why it worked, or you use herbs or essential oils or homeopathy, and the same thing happens. And you're like, and I think that's what brought me in, because I saw them work on my dog at the time. And I was like, oh, if they can work on her, why can't they work on me and other people I spoke to? But animals are a gift in that way. They don't, like, they really don't debate. Like, they get up, they feel better. You're like, oh, they walk better, or they're happier. And it's such a gift to be able to see. And I think children are the same way. They don't sit there and debate. You can tell, kids are very wise, animals are very wise. And some of that comes from being much more in the present moment and much more aware, or just more connected to who they are.
Right. Yeah. And, you're right. I love the combination of the two, because if you have a healthier human, then the pet is going to be healthier and happier too, right? Because they're so directly connected and in tune with us. Yeah. I always used to see my pets as, like, if I wasn't feeling well or something, they always knew, and they would come to me, like my cat would lie on me. One particular, who wasn't a very, she didn't lie on you very much, but if I wasn't feeling well and I was lying down or something, she would come and she'd be there. I always used to call her my little nurse. So, yeah.
Yes, and then, my dog's very sensitive to the way I feel, and it used to be that when I was upset or anxious, he would have stomach issues, and then
Oh.
it got to the point where I was like, "I'm so sorry, buddy. I'm really trying," like, I'm really trying to control that anxiety or whatever it was, the stress that I was going
Mm,
through. But, I think they are, and that's why I said in the beginning that we're given the pets we need, because I really
mm,
feel like sometimes, they cause us to work on stuff in our own being for the overall well-being of everybody in the household,
absolutely.
them,
Yeah.
them and us.
Yeah.
And I think I've always loved animals because they're so present. They're so in the present moment, and their ability to adapt to really quickly to a situation.
Mm,
And whether that's a physical situation, they are much more accepting of what life hands them in some ways than we are.
mm,
And so I always looked at that as being remarkable, like remarkable.
yeah.
And so I really love that. And they're very wise and very attuned, like your cat, who was just so knew that, mom wasn't well,
Yeah.
or didn't feel well,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, and she was really remarkable. We always say she trained us. She was very quiet. She wasn't very vocal like some of the other cats I've had, and she was just always very quiet, almost timid. She was just there, and but she always made it clear what she wanted. So she kind of had us trained, so she would just walk in the direction of where she wanted to go. She went to a certain spot, she wanted to be brushed. If she went over here, you knew she wanted food. And so she would train us in that way. It was really kind of remarkable.
They are. They're very, very, very smart, and I think
Mm.
a lot smarter than we give them credit for
Oh,
sometimes.
yeah,
You
definitely.
and they really have a way of working. They learn really quickly what to do to get us to do what they want us to do,
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they
know?
do.
And
Um,
sometimes you have to be the one that's like, "Okay, I'm the human in this situation." Like, I am the human, I'm the one, I'm the person, you've gotta let me be the person.
Mhm. Mm. So, you offer a number of modalities. I know you do yoga. I know you do Reiki. I know you work with essential oils. Can you tell us how that all kind of comes together in the work that you do?
Well, if you look at, that we're very connected to our pets, I've always, been a firm believer of trying to keep ourselves as healthy as possible.
Mm.
And if you think about the fact that if you're healthier, your pets are going to be healthier, or vice versa, then anything to me that we can do to help manage how we feel, and I mean manage meaning live our best lives. So, I'm a firm believer of things like meditation and yoga for us. And since I teach, and now I'm teaching a lot on Zoom, it's always funny to me because my animals will listen to me teach and they totally chill out. And my students call it my yoga voice because I
Mm.
think I get really calm and my animals pick up on that. So I almost feel like I should record myself so it'll keep them calmer when I'm not teaching.
Mm.
Always. And and Reiki is just, good for people and pets. I've actually done Reiki sessions for both at the same time, with animals and their humans or
Mm.
their, pet parents. I don't like to call people owners because
No.
we own a being. Caretakers at the same time through the years.
Mm.
Very powerful and very healing for both involved. And then essential oils was one of my first forays into more natural modalities. And, that's where I started. I co-authored 3 books on essential oils for pets. The title is Spoil Your Pets. So I love essential oils and have used them for many, many years on my animals and with clients. And my co-author's a veterinarian, and we've partnered and used them on her clients. And so I really see their power. And I love the fact that, the same oils that I use on myself, I can use on my pets. Yes, differing proportions and dilutions, and knowing all the safety around using them on animals. But I love the fact that I can use the same thing I use on my pets, I'm using on myself. But it also makes it very healing and very bonding. Like there is a true connection of applying an essential oil to an animal or a child, and you get that bond. Some of it's a physical connection. It's also really nice for, I don't know, if you have a pet that's, let's say, suffering for separation anxiety, which I think is pretty rampant these days, just because we've been home so much.
Yeah.
And now the world is opening up a little bit more again. And so people are not as home as much. And their animals are like, okay, wait a minute. I was really happy with you home. And if you can find an essential oil, which you wear and leave it with them, it's kind of a security type feeling where it smells like your home and they're familiar with it. So it makes that transition a little easier, I find. So there's so many ways you can intertwine them and interconnect them. And I think they're all good. I don't think that, I think you need a baseline of good nutrition. That's across the board. Everybody needs to move. So that animal, human, doesn't matter, and then you use all these different sort of ways to keep yourself as balanced as possible. And I like the word balance, like in a good state of homeostasis.
Yeah.
Of balance,
No, I love essential oils. I've used them for many years for myself. I had read somewhere, and I'm curious to know what you think about this. I was a little bit nervous about using them for animals because I did used to use them a little bit for my animals, but then I read something that said because their sense of smell is so much more heightened than ours, that using essential oils can be harmful. So that made me hesitate then about what to use or how to use them or what was safe. I just wondered if you'd heard of that and what your thoughts on that might be.
Well, I think first things is the quality of the essential oil is imperative. Animals are a lot more sensitive to chemicals than we are. Part of it is body size. Not to say that we're not sensitive to chemicals, but their metabolism is very different, so they process them differently. So how they're extracted from the plant is crucial. I'm a firm believer in testing and third-party testing because you need to make sure they're safe. And then that being said, it's really, to me, there are certain oils, yes, which I tend not to use on pets, but that's much more because I try to make sure that the experience is positive versus negative. And there's so many essential oils out there, so many different types. So you have so many different plants that you can get essential oils from, that some of them are really strong, and I tend to avoid their use in pets. They're just not going to be my go-to oil if my pet is having an issue.
So would that be something like thyme or oregano, something like that?
Or oregano, which I tend to, avoid. Some people really don't like to, and so that's topical application. I mean, I don't know many instances where I would diffuse thyme or oregano anyway, but that's definitely topical application. And then trying to think of any of the more spicy oils, so cinnamon, clove, anything that's going to be warming to the skin, tend to contain, some of those oils have a very high, what we call phenolic concentration. So you want to avoid those, at least topically. A good quality essential oil, I've never had a problem diffusing. My animals, my dog lived to 19, my cats lived to 18 and 20. I diffuse used for my cats their entire life. My co-author diffuses essential oils in every exam room, in every treatment room, in her lobby, you know, never with any ill effects. There are certain, we do like water diffusers better than nebulizing diffusers. And it's really, to me, all about quality and concentration. You know, our body size tends to be larger than most household pets.
Mm-hmm.
So we obviously, it's like using oils on an infant. You obviously have to dilute and just, you know, dilute them down so that they're of a really healing concentration and they're not going to overwhelm their systems.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and you know, you made an important point. If somebody is new to essential oils, there is a huge difference in the quality of essential oils. You know, when you go to, if you went to a health store or something and you saw a whole range of essential oils, and some of them you even have to read on there, because some of them say they're just for, it's like it's just a scent, it's just for diffusing. You could not use them topically. So you have to be really aware
That's right.
of what you're using.
And I had used essential oils for many years, none of my pets, but used them for a while, just because I loved the smell in my house. And then realized, like, when looking at the labels and realizing that if I couldn't apply them topically, this was my way of thinking at the time, if I couldn't apply them topically, I really shouldn't be diffusing them in the air, because really what was I getting? And so that kind of delved me into the path of looking for really good quality essential oils that were tested, that, you know, maybe were being used in more medical settings and different areas, and just had really good quality testing and good transparency. So they were very willing to let you see that data if you wanted. You know, and so that's how I kind of ended up with the company that I now work with their essential oils, you know, after kind of investigating a few different ones and settling on the one that I currently buy my oils from. And then also recommending oils that, just when I speak to people, I'm like, just, you know, follow, if you find good quality oils, and then follow some direction. And it's not easy to learn, you know, you teach yourself. And part of the gift of doing that is it's very empowering to be able to help yourself or your pet. Common health situations. And also maybe some other situations, but it's really rewarding and very just so satisfying to be able to say, okay, well, you know, I can help my animals or myself or my kids or my parents, you know. So I loved that.
Now, do any of your books that you've authored, do any of those go into more detail on this, showing people how to use them?
Yes. In the book, we go through dilution instructions for cat. It's a book for dogs and cats, so we don't cover other animals. But we go through quality, we go through do's and don'ts, we go through safety issues, special circumstances, like special health issues where you want to be extra careful. And then specific dilution instructions as to, like, how many drops for how much of a carrier oil, what carrier oils we tend to recommend. And then the book covers over 75 what we call health issues, but really some of those are just health topics and not really issues. So how does that differ? So it might be not that we're talking about physical ailments, so we might cover things like organ support, or you know, an ailment such as, you know, so we're under organ support, it might be heart health or kidney, liver, and how to address those issues. But we also covered a lot of lifestyle topics this time, like secondhand cigarette smoke and toxins in your home and things like that, that we feel affect everyone's health, but your pet's health quite a lot. And then we covered a lot more of the emotional type stuff. So separation anxiety, grief, sound sensitivity, like things like that, which, you know, I was not in our first book. So this is the third edition, and it is drastically different than the first two.
And what's the title of the book?
The book is Spoil Your Pet. I can hold it up. A practical guide to using essential oils in dogs and cats.
Oh, I love that. And where can people get that? Is it on Amazon, your website, or where is that?
The best place to get it is a company called Aroma Tools. They have the book. That's you can get it directly for them, or you could get it on Amazon.
Okay. Aroma tools, spoil your pet. I love that. I wish I'd had that or known about it before. I don't have an animal currently. My cat passed away just before Christmas, but I wish I'd had it before. But I think I'm going to have to get it. So next time I have a pet.
Next time you have a pet, exactly. I learned that usually pet people end up getting another pet anyway. Eventually, they don't live that long without one.
It's so hard. It is hard, and we're planning to do some traveling coming up. So, and that was always my biggest thing. Whenever I traveled, I was always worried about my pets left behind, and I used to have someone coming and pet sitting for them. But even so, I could never wait to get back home so that I could be with them.
That's right. They're not you. I have a great pet sitter who I love, who, my dog actually goes to her, but she's wonderful. But, she sends me pictures and I check in all the time and everything. But now, since my cat passed away not too long in November, so quite recently, and I debated a thought I might be traveling, and I said, I think I'm going to wait till after I get back, because especially if it's a kitten, I don't want to have to leave it. And especially if the dog's not in the house either, then, so now I'm not, if I, don't think I'm traveling, but, just in case, I think I'm going to make sure that I'm around for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. So with all the things that you do, all the exciting things you do, and working with people and working with animals, what is the main focus of your business right now? Is there a goal that you're moving towards? Do you have some plans for this year?
I think my goal is really, I've been very focused on my pet work of late. I think there are a lot of new pet owners out there, or new pet caretakers out there. There are a lot of COVID pets, people who got pets during COVID and are having some adjustment issues, especially if they've never had a pet before or previously. And my goal is to work with those people as a population, because I think it's very much needed, any support I can offer. And then also trying to work in the very proactive wellness area. I think the gift of working with pets is, in a lot of ways, is, especially if you're dealing with a specific breed of a pet, it's very well known a lot of the time which sort of health issues those pets are likely to get, because there's, let's say, a very strong genetic predisposition to something. And I wish that people would look at the pet they have and see, oh, is my animal prone to this? And can I do something when my dog is young or my cat is young, versus have the issue come up and then have to deal with it? So I feel like if we could look at being proactive in wellness, and that's everything. So that's diet, like I mentioned, stress management, even for a pet, exercise, and then anything alternative we can, as far as modality, could offer that animal to support it. I feel the quality of their life will be better. I think the overall cost of that pet is going to actually be decreased. Having been through numerous times in my animal kind of partnership, or, being an animal parent through the years, I've spent my share on vet bills, and then just keep them healthier and around as long as possible.
Yeah.
Part of that is the support they offer us. I mean, I think we all saw that during COVID. I would not have been able to handle COVID as easily, or, well, I'm not sure I handled it easily, but maybe as graceful as possible, had I not had my animals with me for support. And so I think that relationship becomes very strong. So as long as we can keep them around, the better we are.
Yeah, and many people did turn to pets for support during the COVID, during the lockdown and everything. And there were reports of animal shelters, just having no animals left because they were all adopted. And I think it's important to recognize it's not just about what they can do for us, but you really do have to look at what are their needs and what can we do for them and how can we keep them as healthy and happy as possible. It's not just about, oh, I need that animal to help me in my time of need, but what are their needs? We can't ignore those.
Absolutely. It's such a good point. And we can't. I mean, I think a lot of the time they don't let us anyway, but there is a responsibility that comes from having a pet in your household. And some of those responsibilities people don't really think about. Like what, I mean, I think, and they should, because if anything we learned during this time, that life is very unpredictable and we never know what's going to happen. So do I have plans for my pet if something happens to me? You know, who's going to get them? Who's going to take care of them? You know, have I even thought about that? You know, you know, so that's one aspect. You know, we're also not always prepared for health issues that do come up. So am I set up to not only take care of their basic needs, but am I prepared to care for them if something more severe happens?
Right.
You know, and
yeah, because you can't just, you know, something severe happens, you can't just ignore it, you know, or it takes work. I mean, my cat towards the end, you know, she had a lot going on, and you know that took up a lot of my time, and you can't just, you know, you have that responsibility because they are with you, you know, and it's your responsibility to take care of them in the best way you possibly can. So,
and then, sorry, and that sometimes means surrounding yourself with people who are knowledgeable or who know, so that you have the right support system and you know, okay, or investigating and saying, or contacting someone who can connect you with someone who knows more about it than you do. I always say I like to be able to direct people. Like, so I am not a diagnostician, so I'm not a veterinarian, and I'm not a pet nutritionist. You know, do I know something? Yes, but I do have some great connections in that world. So if somebody calls me, I can say, okay, well, here's who I really feel you should talk to. As far as pet nutrition, if your animal's having issues or you have questions, or here's, you know, I really think you need to refer to a specialist for this, you know, and could be just knowing those types of people, so that if you don't know, is educating yourself on the proper way to handle a situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And to know that there are resources out there, and somebody like you, and you know, one of the advantages you have, I think, is that you're in this sort of holistic world, this natural health world, but you have a scientific background. So, you know, you kind of have the experience of both.
Yeah, people always say once a science geek, always a science geek. And I am a science geek. I love the science. I do really value everything, though, because I think there is, you know, a whole place for looking at something as a whole being.
Yeah.
I wish, you know, people looked at themselves like that, or sought care for themselves like that. And I think with our animals, it's the same.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think everything you said is so true. You know, you cannot separate a person's health from their pet's health. They're so interconnected. And so that's why the gift of what you bring to people, you know, taking care of both is so valuable. So if people want to learn more about what you do, or perhaps get in touch with you, how can they do that?
The best way is to email me or text me. At the moment, my website's being revamped, so I would say they could connect with me on Facebook and just tell me that, you know, that's, you know, why they're contacting me.
Okay. So you're on Facebook and LinkedIn, right? So
I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn. LinkedIn is probably even better at the moment than Facebook.
Okay.
My name, Jan Jeremias.
Okay. And I can put those links in the comments as well, so people can easily find it.
Yeah. And then if anybody wants to email me and phone, I can also give you that, so they can reach out to me.
Okay. All right. Very good. So, yeah, I encourage people to really, if you have, especially if you have a pet, I mean, you've got to take care of your own house, but if you have a pet, then explore some of these things that we've been talking about. And I certainly encourage you to perhaps get Jan's book, because that sounds like a really good resource. So thank you so much for spending time with me today, Jan.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
I love talking about anything to do with animals anyway. So it's a bonus for me today. So thank you. And I just really appreciate the wonderful work you're doing, helping people and their pets. So thank you. And yes, I look forward to talking to you more about what you're up to in the future.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. And reach out to Jan if you have any questions about what we've been talking about today. Okay, bye-bye, everyone.